I want to first thank Brand Innovators for hosting us outdoors. I don't know about you guys, but fresh air, sunlight, I'm a big fan. I think the weather gods allowed us to do this today. So,
It's 78, I think, in Dallas. So
I mean, well, I'm a New
take
Yorker
56 in Christmas.
where I didn't check the weather, but it's not 78. So I'm happily here and we're outside. So thank you guys for coming. I know everybody's got packed schedules. I will say, since it was day three today, I did not get lost coming here. And I've retread the same steps at least 18 times and gotten lost probably eight of those 18 times. So here we go. We're going to get things started. I am going to occasionally consult with my notes. So let's start with introductions, and I'll quickly just say hello and who I am, and then we'll get to the main star of the show, as it were. So I'm Chris Winburn. I run the U.S. sales team for a company called Innovid. For those of you who don't know what Innovid is, we are a sort of an operating system that supports all elements of the campaign lifecycle, from creative to delivery to measurement and optimization. Okay, we're a neutral party in support of a lot of brands' work. And let's talk about, Drew, why don't you say a few words about yourself, the U.S. Media Activation Lead for PepsiCo. Give us a little flavor for your background and the roads you've traveled to get here.
Sure, thanks, Chris. And thanks to Brand Innovators for setting this up. This is great. So I've actually had a long history in digital marketing with the last 10 years at PepsiCo. I've been in essentially paid media, a little bit in retail, a little bit in the strategy side. And now it's pretty exciting. We're starting to lead some in-house activation. So taking some of that knowledge that we've had by working with a lot of great partners, a lot of the knowledge we have on our brands. No one knows our brands, house of brands better than us. So it's been really cool to start this journey out. And as we start to scale the team, it's just been really neat. And we rely still heavily, though, on our partners. We still need the Innovids of the world to help us out in this journey. But yeah, a lot of cool things happening at PepsiCo.
Love it. And I hope there's a good concentration in Dallas as far as the team members that are, you're not the only one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing. I think it used to be back in the day like San Francisco Tech and New York, but, we're starting to recruit a lot of talent in the Dallas area. But, with teams and everything and Zooms, we are still a global company, and time waits for no one. So, yeah, I have partners in Mexico. We're a true global team. So actually my team is actually leading activations across Europe, Poland, across the globe. So a lot of cool stuff of able to take what we're doing globally and scale it here locally.
Love it. Well, Pepsi's obviously, as you said, global brand, multinational, Fortune, I think 50 probably in terms of scale, size. Certainly a leader and first mover in the snacking and drink space. I want to say over 500 brands, maybe under the
Yeah,
umbrella.
well, it depends on how you connect them, but yes,
Okay.
we supply, produce a bunch of different brands. You'd be surprised how long the tentacles go.
Fantastic. So of the 500, I probably only know maybe 50 to 100 of them, I'm guessing. But if you had to pick one, do you have a favorite? Do you have one that maybe you have a meaningful or memorable origin story as to how you found your way to loving a brand?
I think it's twofold. First, growing up in the hot summer days of Texas, Gatorade. The glass bottle. Does anyone remember the glass bottles? Man, you can't beat the glass bottle. We need to bring that back. Lemon lime, full of sugar. I mean, no one needed zero. Come on. And now here in Vegas, I feel like we could all use some Gatorade, maybe in the mornings, perhaps. So I actually love all of our brands. I'm being truthful. Had some Quaker oatmeal this morning. Kids love the multi-pack of the chips, but yeah, Gatorade is just for me. I still drink to this day, whether it's powder, fully loaded, zero sugar. It's all good.
It's great. I'm a chips guy. Cool Ranch Doritos. Anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk a little about the current kind of moment, right? The landscape that we find ourselves in. It's complex. It's fragmented. It's evolving rapidly. You've kind of spent years at the intersection of media, technology, brand growth, and so as you look at the landscape today in advertising, what feels different? Like what's changing now in ways even from last year, 2 years ago?
Yeah, sure. I would say it's more difficult to grow a brand once you kind of hit that saturation and that life stage. So for a lot of our brands, everyone knows those household brands, but how do you continue to grow? How do you continue to scale those brands? It's very difficult. And so for us, what we used to do is just show up. You're used to seeing Pepsi at the Super Bowl, Doritos at the Super Bowl, or just maybe in a billboard, maybe point of purchase where we own the gondola. So it's kind of that illusion of choice. I think those days are gone. And so we can't just rely on that supply power. Also, I would say the barrier to entry for a lot of brands is very minimal, right? You have social media, you have a lot of different ways in with influencers. You have these little guys that, if you're not careful of, like the Takis of the world, they come and eat in our share. And now you look at some of the Gatorades of the world that are looking at LMNT. Like, wait a minute, who's this brand? Like, where they're showing up on Amazon. So it's a lot more difficult to have that push strategy. So I'd say for like more mature brands, that pull strategy needs to come forward. And so we're starting to really rethink our comms, our messaging, how we show up, where we show up, be more authentic, because that next generation, they're more apt to switch. And then the last thing I would add is private label, right? Like private label is just huge share eater for us. This new generation, they are very price conscious, and so if the brand isn't resonating with them, boy, that's a big challenge for all of us.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm always interested in my own kids. I have grown kids, 22, 20 years old, each of them. And the things that they gravitate to and the brands that they recognize. My son is a prolific Instagram shopper, and he will buy the most random things that I've never heard of, and from whence I know not where they arrive. But sometimes they arrive, sometimes they don't arrive. So I can testify to the fact that things are changing rapidly.
Yep.
You mentioned a little bit about showing up authentically as the brand, right? Brand authenticity, I think, is a real hot topic. I think I read a statistic there, one study indicated that we as consumers, all of us, are exposed to as many as 4,000 ads in a given day between outdoors, online search results, you name it, Instagram feeds, etc. So standing out and demonstrating authenticity is important and challenging. Is there a brand in the portfolio that you feel is showing up in ways that, I'm sure you could say all of them are, but if you had to pick one and give maybe an example, is there a brand that's showing up authentically, you think, in very effective ways right now?
Yeah, it's hard, but if I had to say one, and this is a really good lesson for anyone that's developing brands, I would say Quaker. And the reason for that is they know who they are. It's a little bit of an older brand. You think of the tin can oatmeal. It's going to last you a while through the COVID era or whatever. You have their big jar. You're good for breakfast for the millennial. But they know who they are. They're not trying to glom onto the latest trends. They're not trying to be an influencer-led brand that's trying to be like the sexiest brand. They're health and wellness. They care about your heart. And what's the great thing about that is, by staying true to themselves, you've seen this new wave of nutrition and consumers being more cognizant of what's going into their body. So now Quaker is at the ready to be more relevant to those consumers. They're not like, oh, by the way, we're a healthy brand. So for me, a lot of times my difficulty is now with less artificials for our chips. That's a hard sell. You get the response of, wait a minute, what have you been selling me, right? And so for the Quakers of the world, they've been known as that health and wellness brand. They've been there with you. And by staying true to their roots, now that this whole trend has come back into health and wellness, they're ready and they're thriving and they're doing great things for our portfolio.
Awesome. I had some Quaker Oats this morning. I'm proud to say, doing my part to be healthy on road trips, if can be considered a road trip. Let's talk a little about creative. One of the elements we mentioned that Innovid gets involved with. So, transparency here. We're involved with creative, and I'm very interested in how brands approach the creative levers and the ways in which they are leaning into that as a performance driver, right? So as we think a little bit about, we talked about how crowded and how the barriers to entry are low for new competitors in the space. To what extent does creative variability and adaptability and creative test and learn factor into the way that your brands are going to market?
Sure. So I think we've touched on, and everyone's heard the term personalization all day today, but for us, it's making sure that we know the formats and the media and the creatives are having the conversations together so we can develop those personalized communications. What we've seen in the past is creative leading a little bit too much. Obviously, I'm the media side, so I'm a bit biased, but there's nothing worse than you can do is to set up all of your creative and then send it to the rest of the department and say, go make sure that this goes out into the marketplace the right way and that it's well received and that the consumers are engaging with it. So a good example there is just having some static images and splicing them on Facebook, or cutting them down, your 30s down to 15s or 6s and just hoping it'll work. You really have to understand the platform. And so the media team needs to be in that room before the creatives even launch that campaign. They need to be helping informing the strategy. They need to help inform the comms, to help guide the creatives of what that should look like, but not only what it should look like, but how it can live, how it can breathe, how it can be, democratized to anyone to absorb that content, to get that education in, because there's so many different channels, as we know, as a marketer in the media space. There's just, social, now CTV is expanding, so you need to be at the ready to, pull those levers. And if the creative's not ready, then you're really up against it. So I would say that's the big thing. And then on the personalization piece, we're starting to look at more data sources. So I just had a roundtable, is really enlightening, and we're leaning into one of our partners, Reddit. You'd be surprised with social listening tools, some type of IRI studies. They're all great. They all kind of complete the picture and paint the picture. But there's nothing like a testimonial. There's nothing like hearing from like someone on the ground floor that's actually eating the chips, or as a brand advocate, or someone that just doesn't like the brand. Leveraging some of those tools there, and that helps inform also the strategy. So you're giving the creatives almost, I feel like, more arsenal, like more like empowerment to go deliver something like really cool, but something that's going to work. That's that hard balance.
It's so true, and I think that in our experience, a lot of times there's silos, right? The media team is over here doing their media planning,
Yep.
audience level, strategies. Creative team has some big idea. They don't even realize that within the construct of this campaign, there are these 5 distinct audiences that
Yep.
may be handled uniquely, right? And creating relevance for them might be different.
Absolutely.
And so this is an important bridge to kind of cover that divide. Next question, I'm thinking about the distinction between, and there's many different ways to go about building your media plan and approaching the fragmented ecosystem, right? We see some clients are very audience centric, regardless of which platform or which channel. And other clients are much more kind of channel centric, and they think about what is the right way to capitalize on and be authentic within this channel. If you had to put yourself on one end of that spectrum, is there a way that you might lean?
Yeah, and I think this is a good, healthy debate for anyone that's in this space. For me, what I've learned, again, by the medium and thinking about the placement and looking at the media numbers that I get on the back end, you can know your customer backwards and forwards. But if you're not showing up the right way contextually in that environment, I think you're dead upon arrival. So for me, I'm always thinking channel first. So I'm thinking about what's the experience once they get on there. I mean, I remember back in the days, I'm dating myself here, but like when Facebook was just business pages and people would just slap ads on there and be like, wait a minute, is this shopping? No, it's like, well, what's my presence here on this platform? I can have the right message. I can have some cool creative logo. I could have a celebrity on there. But if you're not native to that environment, if you're not organically, fitting within that ecosystem, that channel, that platform, I think it really just it doesn't show up well. And also, I would say lean on your partners. I mean, I have great partners at Pinterest, at Meta, at Google, at Amazon. They know their platform so well, and so for me, I can lean on their expertise not only to what's a best practice, but what's next. I think we all want to be that brand that shows up differently on those platforms. And so that's when I start to get into really the fun stuff, like the test and learns, and thinking about those 10% ideas of like, hey, is there a capability we can like work together? Like you think about, Meta and Ray-Ban, the sunglasses. So for us, what we had for a lot of our stuff with Amazon was really cool. We actually sold products that weren't involving chips. So we sold a duster. It sold out within, I think, like 30 minutes. And essentially it was creating a whole like channel where we could sell a product on Amazon Marketplace, but it got us into the food space with actually dusting Cheetle on your like recipes.
Amazing.
Or for your recipes and on your dishes. But it really broke through. And now you're thinking of Cheetos as innovative. I'm thinking for my recipes, and I need to buy some, and I get a multi-pack. And those are those opportunities that are happening because of the platform, because of the channel. The consumer might follow, or the consumer might, say this is okay, but I'm really looking for that next new thing. And that's where the channel really comes into play for me.
That's super cool. I love it. Probably again one of those product type ideas that my kids would be like, yes, and I'm kind of like, hey, whatever it takes.
I mean, I use it in my house. I have it in my house. I'm not kidding. It's a grinder and it's automatic. It's fantastic.
I'm looking this up on the way out of here. So Pepsi's known for kind of bold, culturally relevant creative approaches, right? Super Bowl ads and Times Square, exposures and such. How do you kind of balance the big creative swings and accountability and performance metrics and things of that nature?
Yeah, I would say twofold. One's going to be, I'll give you the boring answer first, and then something that may be new and different that I've touched upon in a couple brand innovators before in the past. MMM models, if you don't have one, sorry, but ours is really getting developed and it's really nice. So I'm looking at effectiveness and ROI. So we have to look at brands and to say, hey, lately you've been a little bit too much on that effective side. The CPMs are creeping up there a little bit. But we also have brand health metrics. So you can look at how they're evolving over time. So where are they at their life stage? So for a brand like maybe Doritos for this year, you might not see them blowing up. You might not see them, at the latest award show. We need to be a little bit more ROI focused. So you have a healthy balance by getting out in front of it. Again, media leading. Where is the brand at its life stage? Where have we been? Is our ROI dipping? How are we doing at retail? How are our scores and brand affinity doing? Do we need to be more of the effective landscape side? So if like for Lay's, we had strong ROI, but you've seen that hopefully the Lay's little farmer ad with a girl growing potatoes. We had a lot of quality metrics that were showing that the quality wasn't there for Lay's. So that's where you can, as a marketer, take that kind of gut instinct and have some data to inform those decisions of like, hey, we need to come back to purpose of who we are. We're real potatoes. We're Lay's. We're grown on farms. We're golden. We're delicious. The artificials are out. It's fantastic. So you're able to make a little bit more of those swings. And then the last thing I would add on to is we have a little scorecard called Growth Navigator, which allows us to understand how you show up in those brand affinity, brand love metrics. We want to start tracking that, making sure that as we hit saturation, we're not too far away from our competition, because it's important for us to be not only meaningful or salient. So you're on your way home at the grocery store, let's pick up a bag of Lay's or Tostitos for the football game. You need to have that meaning. What do we stand for? I touched on private label earlier. And if you don't have meaning at point of shelf, you're dead. If you don't have that brand love, that dollar difference right now in the cart for that mom of 3 that's, struggling, or, maybe it's just that guilty pleasure that you're on your way home from work. It's like, yeah, I don't really need that bag of chips. So we're starting to track a lot more of those metrics to see how we're varying over time. And so we can start to push and pull those levers as well. So not only just thinking about brand awareness, but specifically what we're trying to drive to help grow that brand.
Interesting. Each their own, right? As you said, they're on a different journey along the way. I want to think a little bit and talk for a minute around kind of the traditional conceptualization of the consumer journey involves a funnel, right? And awareness, consideration, conversion, etc. You've kind of talked a little bit about the funnel collapsing, right? And I guess so. My question is, what is sort of full funnel? What does it mean to have the funnel collapsing at this point?
Yeah, that's a whole nother probably topic. Let's solve it in 2 minutes.
Here we have it. 2 minutes. We're going to go there.
How to solve full funnel? No, I mean, you have to think about it in 2 ways. One, I think for efficiency's sake right now, where are those opportunities I can accomplish all of my goals at once? So a space I'm really excited about is CTV, because you have the theater space to accomplish step 1, education. Step 2, there might be an engaging format. So if it's a promo or a program, so we just did Do Us a Flavor with Kevin Hart, you're starting to drive that engagement. So now I know what Lay's stands for. Lay's has a sweepstakes. Okay, then how can I buy it? The consumer's now on their second device, essentially, because this thing, the phone never leaves your hand. So you're ready to buy. So it could be either in your hand or on the screen. So those are those, 3-for-1s, if you will, that I'm very excited about. And you think about social, right? With the commerce. Those walls are breaking down. People like your son are buying these crazy things. They're getting exposed. They're becoming aware. They're engaged. They're secondary clicking. And before you know it, that product's in the basket.
It's in the mail.
It's in the mail. It's on your doorstep in 2 days. So that to me that's full funnel. However, let's be honest. We know that that's not always the case. That's the holy grail. Everyone would love to show up in the right space at the right time and do all those things. So what my team is starting to lead more is more data focused, more data centric in the sense of having more deterministic data in house, getting that exposure data back, getting those exposure files, and it's just simple sequential messaging or retargeting. Um, Not only does that help you understand how many times you've reached the shopper, but also it helps you start to develop best practices within your campaign. So if you think about, do I need to serve them 8 frequencies, 6, how many months? So we're starting to develop best practices based on any of our campaign types. So if it's a product innovation versus your cool ranch that you love, I know those vary wildly. And so I'm starting to set up my campaigns vastly differently because I can start to save a ton of money to go after the Chris's to get you in that cool ranch as opposed to that latest flamin' hot dill pickle that just were launched for Cheetos. That's a much different story. So my full funnel story there is a lot different as well. And I have to think about how I'm using that data. And it should lead to a higher conversion rate. But for us, for what we've seen on the full funnel piece, is a lot of savings, a lot of efficiency, like top line productivity, big time. Working with our DSP partners in the programmatic space, we know deterministically who's seen the ad, who we need to target in flight, who we need to pivot from. And so you're starting to be a lot more efficient as opposed to just setting up blind in the dashboard of like, hey, set up a retargeting cell for those who expose and just kind of set it and forget it. There's a lot more data signals that we're getting in real time. And so for me, that is the full funnel journey. And also you can track it in a life cycle. I can help talk about customer lifetime value, how many times you've bought. Now do we put Chris in a different segment because he just keeps reordering this thing. So now your frequency goes down to 2x as opposed to 4x. Even more savings. It's
I've already got it in my shelves. You should have me at 2x, most likely. Love it. In terms of depending on the vertical category, right? We think about in commerce-based environments, or excuse me, verticals, retail, travel, for example. They might be thinking about optimizations mid-flight, frequently throughout the campaign lifetime. CPG is obviously a different animal. You don't control the point of purchase per se. There are ways in which you can glean some of that information, but are there kind of mid-flight metrics or signals that you might use or consider to influence optimizations as you continue the rest of that campaign flight?
Yeah, and I said personalization, so it runs the bingo card out. I'd say AI.
We're going to get into the keywords in a minute.
Great partner of ours, Pixis, has helped us out with in-flight metrics and AI automation. I think before it was CPM based, thinking about how can I just get the lowest possible rate. I'm a big believer in attention metrics. I think viewability matters. You're going to hear a lot of different opinions on that, but for me, if you can't see that, I don't understand how you're going to be able to buy it if you're not seeing it. So we have a lot more detailed dashboards set up now. And again, going back to the campaign specifics, certain campaigns need to be focused on a CPM and a reach goal. Others, in my opinion, need to be more attention focused. So viewability, dwell times, clicks, engagements, secondary actions. Those are the type of metrics I could point to my brand marketing leads to show them, hey, we're getting some stickiness here. We're getting some traction with your brand. We're not just fighting for the lowest placement. And for them, they may not understand it because it's more of a long-term goal. But I think a good analogy for everyone is, I've said this a long time, it's like Monopoly. I can buy St. James Place all day for you. That's the easiest thing in the world. But it's not Park Place. We're not Broadway here. So sometimes it pays to pays to pay, right? Like to show up in the right way, you need that theater space. You need that premium CPM. You need to fight for that bid for that consumer. It's worth it.
Pennsylvania Avenue was one of my go-tos. The greens around when you turn that corner, boy, those were high rent.
You were done. You were.
Okay, where are we? Let's do a quick lightning round. You mentioned we've touched on a few buzzwords, so we'll have a little fun with some of the terminology that every one of us has been involved with speaking throughout our days, and you'll hear more about on this very stage, I'm sure, later today. So I'll just say a word, an industry buzzword, and just tell me what it means to you. Let's start omnichannel.
I think physical and mental availability. So being able to be in someone's brain at all times, whether they're online or in store, And then once they're in the brain, the product needs to be available in store or online.
Excellent. And digital channels wise, are there any that are not included in your mindset of omnichannel?
No, because discovery is so powerful that it will lead to a secondary action. Great, use case there would be something like a Pinterest. But before you know it, you have a product that you even know you didn't want, and so now you're online shopping.
Valid. Renovated a house recently. Pinterest was indispensable. Okay, next buzz term, personalization.
I mean, right time, right place, right person. Differentiator in the market.
Love it. Excellent. We wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't say this term, AI.
So I think it's just technology because it's strip away artificial. It's just intelligence. So it's another way of thinking. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's all over the place. So don't think of it as AI fitting one solution. It should underpin your entire marketing strategy moving forward.
Can't disagree. We'll talk more about AI in just a moment. Here's a fun one. Coca-Cola.
Formidable adversary. Fun story. First day, hopefully there's no PepsiCo executives out here. American Airlines is a Coca-Cola pour. And we are going to a Walmart Summit meeting. And on day one, I look around, Minute Maid, Coke, Dasani. What am I going to do? Oh, there's vitamin water. Let's grab that because that's not a Coca-Cola brand. So I walk past first class, all the nice rows of all the PepsiCo executives sitting there. I'm just day one in it, just thinking I'm, fitting in. I sit down and my manager, who I'm surprised didn't fire me, was like, "What the blank are you doing?" And things have changed at PepsiCo. We're a little bit more lenient now, but back then in those days, I'm surprised I'm still here. So they make a good product, but we're always coming after them.
Amen. Amen. I love it. I saw our team over here approaching. Are we doing okay on time? How are we doing? Okay. Good, good. Let's just do a double click a little bit on AI. Where is AI delivering value for your teams today?
So we're the big giant. So we need to validate AI first. Unfortunately, I would scale it as fast as possible, but right now we're in the crawl phase, definitely. So primarily it's just an optimization tool. I've seen the ability to help me for planning. It's probably going to replace my job at some point very soon. The ability to completely do an annual plan for any brand. Just the tools are just absolutely amazing, and you can do that within a minute or two. So for right now, it's mid-flight optimizations. It's really helping us make those decisions a lot quicker. And again, it not only is it helping us with the ROI piece, but just top line productivity. It's been a game changer for us, and the proof is in the pudding. So every time I get a case study, every time I run a result, I send it up the chain and say, "Hey, here's another example of just why AI is so powerful." The results are there, and then you can see on the back end, even with our own math and the MMM models, it bears out. So in-flight optimizations right now, but planning, creative. We could even take over like marketing, like complete tools like Tableau, like a lot of that stuff just being like completely like either supplemented or obviously it's a massive game changer.
It is massive, and I think we're seeing clients lean into it on the creative front from our kind of campaign supportive life cycle right now, and on the insights front, there's so much data, there's so many ways to slice it up.
Yep.
How can we get the key insights we need rapidly and make them readily available so that the optimizations are going to be also instantaneous?
Yep.
So it's very exciting. Let's do the last question. Let's see. Okay, let's make it a little more broad. So as we set our course, it's beginning of 2026, everybody's thinking about resolutions and new approaches and ways we're going to do our jobs better and more effectively and with more creativity, I hope. All of us in this, not room, but in this environment. What's one mindset shift that you think marketers need to make to stay competitive as we move into 26?
Boy, it's tough because the marketplace is so challenged right now with pricing. I think as those market forces ease, I would say it's just having that growth mindset. So something that you might hear us talking about is innovation. That needs to underpin and literally be your culture as a company, as an organization. Without it, you're dead. And I know everyone says that, but that's why we're here at CES. So don't forget it. I know it's January, but every time you get a quarterly report, or every time the boss tells you something, you know, be fearless, speak up. But we literally have, like, that's one of our mantras: either act as an owner or voice your opinions fearlessly. I would say just keep that growth mindset and that innovation mindset throughout the year, because the consumer is going to change on you tomorrow. The competitor is going to come out of nowhere, and so kind of staying the course is probably not the right play.
Love it. You heard it here first. Drew, thank you very much for your
Thanks, Chris.
time.
Appreciate it, man.
Brand Innovators, thank you for getting us
Thank you,
together.
Brand Innovators.
Have a great
Appreciate it.